A historic ruling has changed college athletics forever. Stick around and let's talk about it. This is Way Off Sides. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Off Sides, your favorite sports talk on YouTube. It's recruiting weekend again, and there's a lot going on. We're going to talk about that in a different video, but I figured you'd want to know. So be sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, do all the things so that you don't miss a beat of all the news. There's some pretty juicy stuff that's going to be coming in the next couple of days, and you're not going to want to miss it. But the meat right now that everybody's gnawing on, the fat, I should say, is the news that dropped late Friday night. It seems recently that a lot of really important news just kind of drops randomly in the middle of the week, or on a Friday night when everybody's at the movies or this and that. But anyway, last night, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the House settlement finally, there was a verdict, I guess you could say, that was placed in regards to the House settlement. If you don't know what the House settlement was, a former Arizona State swimmer, Grant House, he sued the NCAA. This is in regards to schools cutting checks and NIL, all this stuff. But anyway, so there was a ruling is the better word. There was a ruling made last night in that settlement, and it has changed the way college sports will operate financially in terms of paying players, NIL, collectives, all these things. And it's a big deal. It's a very big deal because in the roadmap to build guide rails around NIL, it's at least a start. I know a lot of people don't like the ruling. They don't like some of the things involved with it. There's a lot of things that I don't feel comfortable with about it. We'll talk about some of those here today. But I think in general, what you need to know is that right now, universities can pay players starting on July 1st. The biggest thing that everybody's been calling for in terms of NIL is some kind of cap. You look at Ohio State, they spent around $20 million on a roster last year on their one-year roster. It's been reported that Texas was going to spend anywhere between $30 and $45 million on their roster this year. And then their, administration comes out and they're like, hey, like, this is great, but this is not sustainable. We can't do this long term. And so the number is just going to keep inflating until something was done. Well, now we kind of have a cap in place. And what does that look like? Well, according to the ruling and according to the AP News, which is where I'm reading some of this information from, the schools can share up to about $20.5 million with their athletes. Now, that's athletes across all sports. That's not just football. Okay. That number represents about 22% of their revenue from things like, ticket sales, some sponsorships, Alabama, Golden Flake, things like that, Coca-Cola, Nike, and like media rights. So, but only a portion of that will go to football. And we talk mainly about football here. We need to talk about basketball, which is another one of those big three sports. At Alabama, a lot of the focus right now has been on baseball. Alabama historically has had a pretty good gymnastics program. They've had a softball program that makes some noise. So in those realms, in those arenas for Alabama to stay competitive, that cost share model, they have to pay out to those athletes as well. And this is great for athletes across the board. I think it's really good for athletes across the board because we've been running ragged with really nothing in place at all. And this is a start. This is a skeleton of where we should head. I think there'll be more amendment to this as we move forward. But a lot of the powers that be, Alabama athletic director Greg Byrne has come out and said, he told Congress, like, look, these are resources of revenues that don't exist. And there has to be some kind of guide rails built up around this thing. And so this is a start. I'm not happy with the ruling exactly where it is, but it is a good start. Here's the thing with the $20.5 million, I guess, cap that universities can pay to athletes. I don't know that that's going to cover the cost of all athletes at a university, especially one that has top 10 programs in different sports all over the place, especially in the SEC. You look at schools like Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Florida. They've got great football programs, great basketball programs, great baseball programs, great softball programs, great gymnastics programs. So I don't know that the cost share, eh, how that's going to work to divvy up to pay for the talent you need to kind of fill all those spots. And maybe that's the point of it, is so that the talent isn't mass collected in one area. Alabama can go spend $13 million on their football roster, but they're going to have to say no to some folks over on the basketball side. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It kind of takes away the free for all feel that was there the past couple of years, but it's not, I don't think it's a polished product. I think that this college football commission, the Federal College Football Commission, will come in and probably make some changes here. You're talking top, I think on average, top quarterbacks in the college football arena are getting paid around $2 million a year. That would eat up 10% of that budget, right? That shareable budget. So I think that there still has to be some fine tuning here or there. Again, I do think this is a start. Now, what about collectives? Collectives will remain intact. They can either be standalone or they can be absorbed by the university itself. Obviously, Alabama has Yay Alabama. That can remain a standalone. Now, here's where things get a little tricky: is that there'll be a new entity, right? NIL Go, and this will be run via I think it's the Deloitte. I don't have it in front of me. I think that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, it'll be run through that third party, and they will analyze any deals that are worth more than $600 and make sure they're paying the players appropriate market value for services. And all of this is set to go into effect July 1st. Now, how does this affect Alabama football? Well, Greg Burns came out today and he said, look, we've had a plan in place for this for a while. We are very excited about it. Alabama has kind of seen the writing on the wall, it looks like, or according to Greg Burns and what he said, if you kind of take it apart, and they've been prepared for it. So I'm not as concerned with Alabama, just because, honestly, it's Alabama. That brand is pretty strong. Now, what does this potentially could do for some other schools? That remains to be seen. Now, another component of this to talk about, and I'm going to read this directly from the AP News, is a key component of the settlement is the $2.7 billion in back pay going to athletes who competed between 2016 and 2024. And were either fully or partially shut out from those payments under previous NCAA rules. That's pretty interesting. So there, wow, yeah, that's a big chunk of money. I believe, what was the ruling? 2.8 antitrust settlement. Yeah, so some players who maybe weren't getting what they were owed, I guess, will be taken care of here retroactively. Obviously, I think men's basketball and football are going to demand the most money out of this shareable equation. I just feel like with the third party NIL being vetted that way, I feel like that opens the door back up to these like backyard McDonald's bags full of cash deals. It makes me kind of worry about that. That was a problem before. Are we going to see that problem again? But I guess if you want to have any kind of regulation in place, that's always going to be a concern, is somebody not following the rules. So we'll see how it plays out. It'll only be a matter of time before somebody gets caught. But the thing is the NCAA is not great at imposing legitimate penalty for those things. We're all kind of waiting for the hammer to fall with Michigan, who legitimately cheated. And I know Michigan fans don't like to hear that, and I'm sorry, but that's exactly what happened. You can go through everything. They legitimately cheated, and the NCAA has been powerless in that situation. So I don't know how I feel about this as a whole. I would love to get your thoughts on it. I'm going to continue reading, become a little more well-educated and well-versed on it and what it means, put more thought into second, third, fourth levels of consequence of this settlement. So I would love to hear from you. more than anything else. Like I said, it's recruiting weekends. There's a ton going on. You're not going to want to miss it. So please make sure you are liked and subscribed. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing with your life. We got a live coming up this week on Thursday. We'll be reviewing everything that went on this weekend during Alabama's official visit, as well as official visits all over the country. So be sure you're sticking around. Thank you guys for being you. You're beautiful. We love you. Say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.